Hey everybody. Alright, so out here working on Camaro stuff again. This is the 10 bolt that was in it. I'm just going to go ahead and reuse the 10 bolt. I know a lot of people are probably going to say why not upgrade to a 12, which is a perfectly legitimate question. I don't have access to a 12 bolt right now. This 10 bolt does have a good carrier in it. It's an Eaton Posi track. The axles are factory, so I don't know, I may upgrade the axles, something along those lines. I know there's no C-clip eliminators, all that good stuff. Not going to be drag racing the car, at least that's not the plan. Maybe in the future, if I change my mind, I can beef up the rear end. I did race years ago, and everyone I raced with, we all kind of had the same philosophy, and I really do believe it. You really don't start breaking stuff until your tires stick. And street tires, especially non-DOT drag radial type, just standard old tires, BFGs, whatever you want to call them, they don't stick. So I'm not super concerned. I know that big block should make quite a bit of torque, but again, I'm not super concerned with breaking the differential just because I don't think it's going to get traction. So, if the tires are spinning, it's not really going to break anything. I'm sure it might take its toll, but I'm not super concerned with it breaking everything. And again, I'm not going to be drag racing the car or horse beating it or anything. So, but anyways, that being said, I'm going to go ahead and start tearing into this thing, and when I get a little work done, I'll go ahead and turn this camera back on. Thanks. Oh, as I started to strip this thing down, it dawned on me that I've probably mentioned before, I do have a four-wheel disc brake kit for the Camaro when it goes back together. That being said, as I start taking this thing apart, obviously I'm going to be taking all the brake hardware, brake shoes, all that stuff out of there. So, but just wanted to mention that way, if I turn this back on and everything is pretty much stripped off of it, you're not going, what the heck? So yeah, that's the reason for that. Like I said, I'm going to take backing plates and all that stuff off because I do have, again, a four-wheel disc brake kit for it. So, alright, I'll turn this back on in a little bit. Thanks. Okay, so got that thing pretty much disassembled. The only thing I did not get were these axle bearings. I did try with my puller, which usually always works. Problem, of course, now is it's on this engine stand rolling around. So I'll come back out here another day and figure out how to get this thing somehow tied down to the lift or tied down to something and knock those bearings out. And I did put a little bit of WD-40 on them, so hopefully that will help too. As you can see, I got the backing plates off. If I remember right, when I did the disc brake conversion on the Camino, they needed to come off. So at this point, I do have the bearing and the races out for the pinion. So I'm just going to go ahead and clean this thing up a little bit more. And like I said, get those bearings pulled out, and then when I start reassembling, I will turn this thing back on. But for right now, this is all the time I got, so I'm going to go ahead and turn this off, and like I said, next time I'm out here working, I'll turn it back on. Thanks. Alright, so there are the chunks. It's probably been about a half an hour beating on it with the slide hammer. I was able to take one of the threaded rods, knock the pin out of it, take the end off and swap that for the actual size that I needed for the axle tube, and broke off a chunk here. As you can see, a chunk there. Boy, that thing held on until the end. It was literally like pieces that were just like that, kind of hanging together in there, and finally it came out. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up these edges. I kind of nicked it a little bit right here, so just gently with the file and get those done. And then obviously there's a bunch of shavings from sawing and everything in there, so I'll have to get that thing all cleaned up again. And then I still have to clean the outside of the case. I did take it to the car wash while it was all assembled and like roughly cleaned it, but now I got to get back into cleaning a little better and start reassembly. So when I get to that point, I'll turn this thing back on. Thanks. Alright, so back out here working on the differential for the '69 Camaro again. As you can see, I've got it cleaned up a little bit. I don't know if I'm going to take it all the way down to cast or just kind of leave it where it's at. I'm kind of thinking I'll probably just leave it where it's at. Probably a few more specks of grease here and there that I can get off of it, but for the most part, I think it's pretty decent. And I did actually put the new bearing race in front, back as well. I did get the gear set off of the carrier. Had an issue with the carrier as well. When I say an issue, it's what I experienced on these outer bearings. Put my bearing splitter on it and tried to get it in my press. I couldn't get it to fit inside my press. I've just got a small little Harbor Freight press. And instead of fighting with it like I did with those outer bearings, I actually just took it into a machine shop. So they've got it. They're going to be pressing the old bearings off and pressing the new bearings back on. Once I get that back, I can go ahead and probably start working on putting this thing back together. So I think I mentioned already, probably a couple of times, sorry. I do have a new gear set. I went with some 342s. So I'm going to go ahead and put those in there. The differential was a posi. It was an Eaton posi carrier, so that'll be coming back, and that will go in. And going to reuse the axles as well, so I've already got outer bearings for it. I'm not using those ones that came out, those repair bearings, because those were a nightmare to get out. So I'm just going back to the original style cage bearing and an outer axle seal. And I've got those as well already. I have the pinion installation kit with the new nut and the bearings and the marking compound, gaskets, yada yada yada. So like I said, I'll just wait on that carrier, and when that comes back, I will go ahead and start working on this thing a little bit more. I may clean it up a tad more in the meantime. But yeah, when I get back out here, I will turn this thing back on. Thanks. Alright, back out here working on the differential for the 69 Camaro. As you can see, I got some paint on it. Just finished doing that. It is Summit Chassis Shield paint. It's the same stuff that I used on the 47 Jeep Willys, and so far it's been holding up good and I'm happy with it, so went ahead and put that on here. I did get new outer wheel bearings and seals. I just went with the factory style, not that, I believe they called it a oh, what the heck did they call it? Axle seal repair kit, I think is what they called it. But I did not go with that because, as you saw, I had a bunch of problems getting those things out. So I just went with the factory style, the cage roller bearing, and then the separate outer seal. So I got those in there already, and I did put in the pinion races, the front and rear pinion race. So I think everything pretty much is ready to go. I just got to get my carrier back from the machine shop, and they're going to put the new bearings on there for me, and then put the races on, and I can start taking this thing apart and putting it back together over and over until I get that pinion clearance right. So, but just wanted to show you guys that I did get some paint on it and kind of let you know where I'm at, and when I get back out here doing some more work, I will turn this thing on. Thanks.